toilet and then eat your sandwich or whatever the equivalent was. Or you would have a wound and you put a stinking old cloth on it. Some people were beginning to understand that. There are documents about healthcare from the time, but they believed it was as much about forms of magic and about the blessing of God or the curse of God as about how you looked after a wound. So it was a very different age. It was not a romantic age. It was not a glorious time to live. It was a hard life. Life expectancy for children was really, really low, and people will have struggled to maintain their existence. But don't let that spoil your enjoyment, ladies and gentlemen. Just understand how hard fought these battles were. People were fighting for land. Land gave you resources. It gave you somewhere to grow your crops. It gave you somewhere to feed your animals. The Vikings live in quite a sparse area for that type of resource. No wonder they wanted our lovely, rich countryside, our beautiful verdant grasses on which to graze their cattle, our rich wheat fields, our rich barley fields. We were rich pickings, and our monasteries, our churches in this period of history were very, very wealthy. Athelstan on his voyage north before this battle had stopped at Chesley Street and had given priceless vestments to the monks at Chesley Street, and those vestments, ladies and gentlemen, are still in the cathedral today. So those vestments are a clear link now through to this very battle. And now we see the Scots and the English forces entering the field. At the front are warriors wearing mail. This was pricelessly expensive. It's made of countless thousands of small metal links, and the remarkable thing is that the people, the armourers, would not just need to link the metal together. They would have to make the wire first by drawing it through ever smaller holes in a sheet of metal until they had wire that they could forge into links. Athelstan's troops lining up in good order, which means in a nice straight line. Always a bit of a struggle with some of the Vikings. They're a bit more of a rabble. And you can see the king's bodyguard, his loyal retainers who have grown up with him from boyhood, there with the blue and gold shields. Athelstan in the blue tunic with the red leg bindings, inspecting his troops. He is angry to see the Scottish and allied forces. They have promised him peace. And what is this? This is not peace. This is warfare. This is a blatant affront to the king's majesty and the king's reign. As you can see, the archers are trying their range, seeing whether they can reach their enemies. They did use archers in battle. They also used them in hunting. They didn't have massed ranks. The massed ranks of archers you see in medieval warfare came later, but they were used, as, in this case, as a sniping weapon to pick off the foe when they're least suspecting it. And you can see the warriors have their shields at the ready because they don't know when an arrow is going to plummet on them from above. We also have a solitary slinger. Slings fire lethal little stones at people, a very simple weapon to make. Children can use them, children can make them absolutely deadly. Oh, one of the warriors struck in the head, out comes the slinger. Nearly. So the warriors now are taunting each other, standing ready, waiting to see what happens. They are weary of war. War takes it out of a nation. War is exhausting. You see your children die, your partners die, your kindred die. So you don't want war if you can avoid it. They are taunting each other. And now Constantine, with the pink trousers, old greybeard under the black and also the blue and white banner, advances. So, peace has been promised, and now Constantine has been achieved of oath breaking and also accusing Athelstan of oath breaking.
Your men have been raiding. They've been defending the land. Why would I trust the word of the heathen from across the sea?
So Olaf Guthrisson with the black shield is the heathen from across the sea, the Viking leader from Dublin. Constantine on this side in the male, the King of the Scots. And over to the side, Owain of the Welsh. To be honest, both leaders are probably right. Keeping the peace across the border, as those of us who live in this area will know, has never been an easy job. And no matter what kings and governments say, actually people will squabble, will engage in a bit of horse stealing, a bit of raiding, a bit of casualty. Happened in the border reivers later, clearly still happening. So both leaders are in the right. Now, we mentioned Constantine's poor, lovely young son. In this bag, oh, awful sight, is the head of that son, that poor young man, cut off in his prime. And Constantine is both bereft and enraged by this. As you can see, smiting into Athelstan, not only devastated at the prospect of war, but also at the death of his own beloved son. You can see the warriors using the swords to hack and lash at each other. These are not fancy fencing weapons. They are bludgeoning, deadly weapons. Many have spears, both single-handed spears used with a shield, and also long double-handed spears, which can pick off the enemy from the back of the lines. So watch the techniques that the warriors are using. They've marched forward in a shield wall, so their shields they're using their shields to protect each other, not simply themselves. Fighting as units, because in a battle like this, it's not only the people in front of you that you're worried about, it's the people off to the side, picking you off with the arrows, with the spears, with the long axes. These warriors will have trained at this from being relatively young men. How they trained, we don't quite know.
Thank you very much.
Because if you trained with sharp weapons, there'd be rather a high casualty rate amongst your youth. So we think they probably trained with blunted weapons and then built up. But there is a lot of luck in surviving a battle. So the ones that are really experienced warriors are both capable and also fortunate. And you can imagine how confusing it is in the midst of that. You don't know friends from foe necessarily. When the warriors are struck, they are not necessarily falling dead immediately, because actually they were on an adrenaline high and the glancing blows might draw their blood but not necessarily exhaust them. So as the blood weakens, as the blood flows, they may weaken, but we're not seeing people dead on the battlefield yet. And in recognition of that, in recognition of the fact that tactics may not be working, rather than pursuing them relentlessly and exhausting their troops, the warrior leaders are thinking of pulling their people back, seeing what other tactics could be used, rather than expending their energy on things that aren't working. You can hear Constantine there, step, 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 driving his men forward with each cry. Each cry is a step forward. Trying to force them back to seek vengeance for his death of his young son. And the archers at the back sniping sneakily and quietly. Now I think we need some cheering, ladies and gentlemen. I've talked enough. So let's have a cry for the Scots because of the dreadful murder of Constantine's young son. 1, 2, 3. And no, because I don't want to be accused of being one-sided, let's have a cry for the English. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's a good loud cry, yes. And because I especially don't want to be seen as anti-Viking in any way, shape or form, let's have a cry for the Vikings. 1, 2, 3. And finally, since my mother is half Welsh and would never forgive me if we didn't have a cry for the Welsh, let's have a shout for the Welsh. 1, 2, 3. Lovely, what an excellent audience you are. And now, encouraged by your cries, the two lines are parting and deciding what else they might do next. As I said, there's no point keeping on with the same tactic if it's not working. It is just too exhausting to do that. So they're drawing back, pausing for breath. Again, I suspect they'll see if a bit of negotiation will do the job. Oh, my lord! King Athelstan's sword has broken. This is such an evil omen. Can we have a big boo for the evil omen? 1, 2, 3. Oh! But Athelstan is calling on Bishop Oda. He is trusting to the Lord as a good Christian king. And Bishop Oda and his men are coming out. The other side will be thinking, yes, this evil omen bodes well for our side. We are going to be victorious today. But they may be wrong, because some miracle is about to happen. The bishop opens the chest. The sword goes in the chest. The bishop prays. And as you'll see, the two Christian kings in the Unholy Alliance are not haranguing the bishop. That would be too much. They would call the wrath of God upon them. It is the Viking. And the king's sword is restored and remarkably polished as well. What a miracle. Shall we have a shout for the king? 1, 2, 3. Yes. Magic, or possibly holiness, or possibly just very good business continuity planning. But no, the only one not slightly daunted by this miracle is the Viking leader, who's standing bravely to the front. Javelin going in there from one of the Scots. And the arrows raining down. Athelstan's forces are forming back into a wall. And there's a lot more shouting. They were very braggartly people, the Vikings, Anglo-Saxons, Welsh and Scots. If they could shout their way to victory, they'd give it a go. Failing that, they'd fight. We want to also shout their way to victory. So in a minute, we'll have another shout. So on the cry of Athelstan, I want you to go, Athelstan. Have you all got that? Athelstan. 1, 2, 3. Athelstan. Need it louder. 1, 2, 3. Athelstan. That's better. Now who's feeling sorry for the Vikings and the Scots and the Welsh? Shall we have a 1, 2, 3 Constantine? 1, 2, 3 Constantine. I think we'll just go for the cheers. You're better at cheering, aren't you? 1, 2, 3. Woo! Just a general cheer for everyone. Woo! Now, what can we see on the battlefield? So the warriors are wearing clothes of linen, wool. Very, very wealthy warriors might be wearing silk. As I said, the most experienced and wealthy of the warriors are wearing mail, and we are all wearing helmets. Helmets were not that common in this period. However, we wear them because we typically have jobs to go to, and our employers aren't a desperate fan of us being bashed about the head regularly on our weekends. So we wear them for safety reasons. They also have wooden shields. The shields were planked with a central boss, and the boss protects the hand. They could be used offensively, and as you can see, they are the main protection against the sword. Guy there on the edge, not just hands and feet, but putting a kick in there. The warriors have a really balanced stance. Anyone here do martial arts? Yeah, right. Watch their feet. They are keeping themselves balanced on this battlefield because we're fighting often on slippery grass with slippery shoes on an irregular surface. The surfaces they fought on would have been less regular still, and there would have been bodies on the battlefield. So you would need to be really well balanced, because if you fell over in the midst of all this, that was it, you were a goner. Now I think we need another cheer. So I'm going to go Scots first. 1, 2, 3. English next. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's a good cheer. Welsh next. 1, 2, 3. For the sake of my mother. Bit feeble. But good effort. And finally for the Scots. 1, 2, 3. Have we done the Vikings or did I forget them? I think I forgot the Vikings. 1, 2, 3 Vikings. Whoa. Yeah, I'm seeing the English doing rather well here. Not that I'm in the least biased. And again, they're breaking ranks, breaking lines, stepping backwards. The warriors of the time would all be landowners by and large. It was Warfare was the province of the wealthy, of the upper and upper middle classes. It was not the remit of the poor. The land was tilled by slaves often. Both the Anglo-Saxon and the Viking economies were slave dependent for the work on the fields. Slaves could be seized in raids, they could put themselves into slavery if they fell on hard times, or they could be born into slavery. In Welsh laws, there are rules and laws about how you treat slaves and how you protect slaves from this period. So it was not an absolutely grim existence, but it won't have been much fun. This was a society when people genuinely felt that there were, and many people do today, that if God was on their side, they would prevail. They also thought things like illnesses were caused by elves even. So it was a time when the spirit world and the real world were clashed together in people's heads, and there wasn't a distinction between the sort of objective and scientific and the faith of the nation. So the fact that Athelstan is appearing to have a sword that has been miraculously restored will count for a lot and put fear into the hearts of his Christian enemies, certainly. And that's the cry of the Scots going forward. And Athelstan's people shouting for their lord too. The weapons on the field, you see more swords on this battlefield than you probably have seen in those days. The sword, again, a very prestige weapon, very, very high ranking. Spears were the mark of a free man in Germanic society. So the spears could only be carried by someone who was free. And you can see double-handed spears used for their reach and to reach beyond the lines, and also single-handed spears used with a shield. So you've got the protection with a single-handed spear, but not the length that gives you the advantage. And it is genuinely very fast and furious. Some of the warriors now starting to fall back as they are injured. Their energy is spent, they may be suffering from loss of blood, and that's sapping their ability to carry on fighting. There are little groups of warriors plotting their tactics. And there's one making a way over the field there. I don't know what he's doing. Could be a craven coward. Could be coming back to retrieve his weaponry and go back in. It looks like he's not a craven coward. I may have accidentally insulted someone. So, are we needing another cheer? Yes, we're having another cheer. So let's have a cheer for the Vikings. And let's have a cheer for the English. Did I hear some boos over there? Scandalous behaviour. And we'll leave the Scots and the Welsh out for now because we can listen to their noise, the dreadful noise of battle. This is incredibly exhausting to do. It is, you can go to the gym however many times a week and you will still find this really rather knackering. Brunanburh itself, the battle, we don't know the location. But the Brownie, the fort on the Brownie, possibly up by Lanchester, is thought of to be one possible site for it. Other sites include the Wirral and the like. So this battle may be being fought just a stone's throw from where it actually took place, which I think is rather fabulous. And they're falling back again. Athelstan's calling out to Constantine. As you can see, the ground is littered with arrows. You may have noticed people picking up those arrows. They take quite a lot of time and effort to make an arrow. Has to be able to fly straight and true, metal point. So the arrows would be collected by people scurrying on the battlefield so that they could be reused. So they're calling out champions to see if they can settle the battle by a battle of champions rather than expending the lives of all of their forces. So here comes the Scots champion or the Viking champion. Well, he's got baggy trousers on, so he must be a Viking. And you can see them giving it their all. This is truly ferocious stuff. Oh! Oh! The Viking is vanquishing the... Oh! That was a bit below the belt, almost literally there. And I do hope he hurt his knee on his chainmail. And that hasn't settled the battle clearly, because now Athelstan's forces are enraged and are marching forward, furious at the vanquishing of their enemy, of their champion even, and the lack of vanquishing of their enemy. They're helping him back. He's wounded, not slaughtered. He may live to fight another day, he may not. Arrows going in. And now you can see one of the the double-handed axes in play, just through there. If that axe was only on this flank, that would be magnificent. Because the double-handed axes, which came into use a bit later in the Anglo-Saxon culture, are absolutely terrifying weapons. The arc of the axe head, if you're within that arc, all you can do is cower behind your shield. They are reputedly able to cleave through a horse. I have a horse, so I don't think this is brilliant. But I just wonder if that axeman could make his way this way. But no, you'll just have to look out for him. Double-handed spears, as you can see, reaching into the enemy. And that dead warrior there is very prudently inching his way over into the other side of the barriers. Fallen bodies on the battlefield would have been a very real hazard. You'd be checking your footwork as you go backwards, because you don't know what's going to be there behind you. As I said, they're not fighting on lawns like we are. They're fighting on really uneven ground. And added to that, you've got bodies, you've got fallen weapons. And you can hear how they're shouting to encourage each other. Are we going to shout to encourage them? I think we better have. 1, 2, 3 for the English. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3 for the Vikings. 1, 2, 3. Now what's going on? There's a lot of dead on the ground now. Where is Constantine? They've run off. That's Constantine right at the edge. Have they run off? What scandalous behaviour. I mean, there's taking grief for your son a little bit too far. First one moment he's all excitable and cross, and the next moment he's disappeared. I'm not wishing to create a spoiler, but until about the 1640s, Constantine of Scotland was one of the longest living Scottish monarchs ever. So we can safely say Constantine will survive this battle, as quite probably indicated by the fact he's skulking over there in the corner. and it appears that the battle has been won and that Athelstan has vanquished the Unholy Alliance, and that passed us all by rather quickly, didn't it? So we better have a quick cheer for the English. 1, 2, 3. Yay! Now don't go away, because this battle is based on how history said it ended. So Athelstan won the Battle of Brunanburh. It was seen as a unification of England. He was seen as, for many of us, the first king of England. Constantine, as I said, fled. Olaf Guthruson, the Viking, also fled. Owain of the Welsh didn't flee. We don't quite know what his fate was, but it's likely that he was slaughtered. And it was recorded in the charters and the annals of the time as being a mighty slaughter, one at which the ravens feasted, because the ravens and the kites would pick upon the dead bodies. So a really grim aftermath to the battle. There would be people mourning their loved ones, searching the fields for their bodies and their graves. But let's not let that depress us, because we're going to have another fight